Good morning, and welcome to my dark but still cool office. It's going to be another hot day here in Sacramento. I'm wearing my Noticon 15 t-shirt here. T-shirt, okay. I wore it to the coffee shop this morning and everything else. You'll notice that right in the middle of this Noticon's logo here is this Holy Grail. Okay. And if you look hard enough at the very center of it, there, the very center of it, um, is a logo which includes a round device, at least suggestive of the host. Okay, so the wine and the bread represented there. I want to talk briefly about the Eucharist. Have you ever been to a Gnostic Mass? Okay, Ecclesia Gnostica Catholica Gnostic Mass, or Liber 15 in Aleister Crowley's numbering of works. And if you have, you might be a member of the OTO or a member of the church. But it's likely that very many people have don't belong to anything, and they've gone along with friends to a Gnostic Mass and sort of want to know what's going on. It's very beautiful for sure, and it's a simple Eucharist ceremony, and well, let me back up. Did you have breakfast this morning? Now, I don't know how formal or informal your breakfast was, whether you had to grab a snack in the car on the way to work or but if you sat down to a table to eat your breakfast, don't you, well, I won't put it that way. You should, and it's natural for you to take a look at the food you're about to eat and feel a level of gratitude for it. After all, deep down inside, it's keeping you freaking alive today. Okay. And I don't care how modern we are. Deep down inside, there was a time when it was very, very important that we eat something that day. Otherwise, we won't be there for another day. Going way back in time. And when I say go back in time, I'm also saying going back in your own genetic memory, your own momentum of life, where we as a group, let's say we had a little village, okay, and the little village depended upon and we're still hunters and gatherers, and we're not so much big organized planting of farms and stuff like that. But we went out and hunted. Now, as we got smart, there was a group. A group went out hunting, and we like to think that it's the men folk go out. I think everybody, men and women both, went out hunting. But if they didn't come back with some game, some meat, okay, the village went hungry. Okay, it was important to go out and literally kill something, dress it, bring it back, and eat it. Now let's just imagine this primitive season of humanity. And Og and his fellow hunters go out and say to kill a mastodon or a giant elk or one of those kind of prehistoric mammal things, or even a wild boar, okay? A dangerous creature. In other words, they went out to hunt a dangerous creature to come back to feed the village for a couple days because the village is getting hungry, okay? Kids are getting hungry. Women need to nourish themselves in order to breastfeed, and it's important. And so they go out, and Og, who is the best spear guy, goes up to this huge, gigantic, monstrous wild boar, and he trips on a stone, and the boar, not only doesn't he kill the boar, but the boar kills Og and just rips him all up, and it's hideous, okay? And the boar escapes. And the rest of the hunters don't have a boar to bring home from the hunt. The village is going to go hungry. Now, this may be in my fantasy tale so far back in history that instead of bringing this dead boar back into the village, they bring dead Og back into the village. And everybody goes, "Oh God, Og, he tried, he sacrificed himself to feed us, and it just didn't work." And they started to look at Og's body. And somebody had the great idea, you know, I think in order to honor Og, who is now in some kind of mystical place, the place of the dead. Og is now a spirit being, a spirit that wanted to feed us, a spirit that wanted to keep us alive, a spirit who wanted to save us. And they look at Og's body and say, I think Og would prefer us to eat him. Let's eat Og. Can you see a magical formula forming here about a savior who sacrifices its own life to save his people? And before they ate Og, before they slathered him with miso paste and barbecue, whatever they did with Og, they prayed to the non-corporeal Og. Thank you, Og, for what we're about to eat. It kind of creeps us out eating each other like this. But this is holy. This is a holy thing. Og, we love you. We thank you. And the word Eucharist means thanksgiving. And that is implanted in us to feel grateful for what we're about to eat. There's a wonderful scene in Pulp Fiction where Uma Thurman's they're at a nightclub restaurant, and she goes into the restroom and snorts some coke, okay? And she's already ordered at the table, and she goes to the restroom and snorts some coke. And while she's gone, the waiter brings her hamburger, and stuff. And she comes back from the restroom just all wired. And she looks down at her food and says something like, "Don't you just love it when you come back from the restroom and your food is waiting for you at the table?" And lots of us recognize, oh, that's that phase of sincerity that you get, at that level of your acceleration. Uh, but that was a Eucharist. Okay, that was a Thanksgiving. That was a Thanksgiving. And so when you can see the main central myth of the Christian tradition, they focus on the Last Supper, what they call the Last Supper, where Jesus is saying they're eating together, and he, at least we think he knows he's going to die. Okay, it's a big climax. We know he's at least in very bad danger, and he's almost saying, look, if I don't make it through this, here, take this bread, eat it. Okay, this is my body. Okay, all my goodies, my preaching, my wisdom, my philosophy, my sacredness, my illumination, okay, is my body. I'm giving it to you now. Take, eat, because this is my body. Do this in remembrance of me. Same thing with wine. Take, drink, because this is my blood. You are now Og. 12 Ogs. Anyway, um, uh, can you see the magical virtue of a Eucharist? Take something that is just a normal thing that's consumable that you would feel grateful for under just normal circumstances, and make it God. Magically make it God and eat it. It's like you're a seed, and when you eat God, you're now a fertilized seed to grow and go and go out and exercise your reason for being. I wrote a thing I was going to read to you yesterday about a seed. We're like a seed. A seed may look like an individual entity existing in space and time, but it's really much more than that. The seed we see is just the quickest snapshot of an eternal life form, representing the essence of infinite seeds that came before it and carrying within it the pattern of and potential of an eternity of future seeds. Our real self is not our physical body or our brain or our electrical and magnetic sheaths or even our mind. Our real self is a completely non-material unit of conscious energy, a completely invisible essence buried under multiple levels of flesh and electricity and magnetic and energy fields. And like the seed, our invisible soul contains the invisible blueprint and energy pattern and all of the energy underlying the genetic code of life itself. The real you is a magic nothing that is everything. Now, until the magic has happened to those seemingly dead bread and dead wine, it gets fertilized by the ceremony. The Gnostic Mass was written shortly after Crowley attended a Russian Orthodox service at St. Basil's in Moscow. And if you've ever even seen snapshots of a Russian or a Greek Orthodox or an Eastern Orthodox Christian Eucharistic Mass, you're freaking blown away. Okay, it is so cool that just the beauty of it gives you a glimpse of paradise. Uh, anyway, so he wrote this mass, and he said, "Oh God, I get it. They almost, they this whole, the Christian Mass is 99% right on as a magical ceremony. But now think, oh, I get it. It's just, oh no, we need balance. We need to, the seed has to get fertilized, and in our visceral prehistoric brain, being fertilized means the union of an egg and a sperm, and the union of a man and a woman, and that mass seems to be all men. It's a guy. It's an incredibly beautiful masturbatory rite. He said, "No, I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna have a priestess and everything else. We'll just have the bread and wine and everything else, but I'm gonna tweak it just a little bit to make it thelemic." Um, and that's what the Gnostic Mass is. Here is kind of a floor plan of a Gnostic Mass temple. I'm just going to show you because it's a basic tree of life setup. But starting right here, starting with the abyss, really, actually that veil, that squiggly line is probably like the abyss. But you got a big high altar there, and that's where the action's going to take place. And that would be like in the supernal triad up there on the tree of life. But to get to that altar is a dais of 3 steps. Okay. And then there's an altar of fire at that point as a Tifereth point. And then there's a font of water here at the Yesod point. And at the very beginning, down here in Malkuth, is a tomb. And out of that tomb will come the priest, the dead priest. The priestess comes down, draws her sword. She's sort of acting as, at that point, sword, see, involved, okay. And she wakes the priest up from the dead, literally. And she cleans him up with the water of the font, and then she consecrates him with the fire of the altar, and then she takes him up. Once he's awake, he takes her up and enthrones her up on the high altar, and then they start to do their magic ceremony. Okay. Here is and the magic ceremony is literally to create the God in the host and wine. And in the thelemic point of view, it's Nuit and Hadit creating the baby, Rahur Kuit, in the host and wine. And it's the baby that we eat. So when people ask Crowley, is it true that you killed 1 million babies that one year? He says, oh, sure, yeah, right, and I ate them too. I don't know if he confessed to eating them, but the point is, yeah, as a Eucharist, yeah. Because that is the union. That baby was created in the ecstasy where both the priest and the priestess completely annihilated their sense of separateness to create the baby, and it's the baby that is your Eucharist. But anyway, here is a black and white snapshot. It's not a full frontal snapshot because you can still see that the veil here is sort of partially covering the altar. But what I wanted to show you, this is Golden Lotus's set up down in Southern California. I just wanted to show you that dais of 3 steps, and they're countercharged. Step 1, step 2, step 3, and the high altar is on the top of that. Okay, so that's what that would look like. Okay, and Crowley wanted to pay, in a sense, respect to the magical formulas that preceded this Aeon of Horus, and that would be the Aeon of Isis, the great goddess. Obviously, you got a priestess in the Mass, and she fills all of the ceremonial roles of the priestess of the goddess. Okay, and the priest is the patriarchal, the Osirian Aeon that just came just prior to this one, and he gets those two together to come together to create the magical baby. And but that baby isn't a baby unless both the mother and father have dissolved in ecstasy. Okay, so the baby grows up to be an orphan. Actually, because mom and dad spontaneously human combusted, in their ecstasy when I was born. But anyway, here's something I wrote. In the east, which is the direction of Boleskine House in Scotland, officially that's our, like our Kaaba, there is a shrine or high altar. This shrine supports the stele of revealing, the book of the law, and the sacred elements of the Eucharist. Okay, hosts or cakes of light, and wine. The high altar is the focal point of the worship service known to us as the Gnostic Mass. This is where the magic takes place in the aeon of the crowned and conquering child. Everything that's said and done in the other areas of the temple are merely preparatory acts to the magic that will take place upon the high altar. So all the stuff that happens before the priest has enthroned the priestess in the east, all that other stuff, which is really beautiful and preparatory and wordy, is just comparable to the purification, consecration, banishing the stuff. Okay, but the real stuff takes place once she's up there. Okay. This high altar is elevated above the rest of the temple. It is set upon the top level of a dais of 3 steps. This is the high place of the temple and an appropriate setting for the supreme magical climax of the ceremony. Once the priestess has taken her place upon the high altar and the veil is drawn before the shrine, that's something that the Greek Orthodox and Russian Orthodox and Eastern Orthodox, they all have that veil over the shrine, which is perfect magic, okay? The priest descends, once the veil is pulled, ascends to the high altar by the 3 steps of the dais. As he does so, he halts at each step, and he, then the priestess, and then the deacon, poetically reveal a fundamental mystery of this worship service. That is, the formula of the worship of the Aeon of Horus has evolved step by step from the formulae of the 2 previous aeons. When he's up on when the priest steps up on the first step, in a sense, that represents the Aeon of Isis, the age of the goddess. And it's on the first step that the goddess is worshipped in the Gnostic Mass. Here the priestess is identified as the goddess Nuit. It is on the first step that the priest sings, O Nuit, continuous one of heaven, let it be ever thus that men speak not of thee as one, but as none, and let them speak not of thee at all, since thou art continuous. And it's while he's standing on that first step that he hears the priestess deliver her beautiful, but to love me is better than all things, if under the night stars, and that's it. Okay. All from chapter 1, okay? As worshippers, we could stay on the first step, worshiping the goddess and adhering to her formula forever. Indeed, many people do just that. But we, the children of the Aeon of Horus, adore the goddess not as an end, but as a means. We linger on the first step only long enough to activate the formula of the goddess within ourselves to prepare for a wedding. Only long enough to allow ourselves to be aroused by the essence of her divinity before stepping up to the next level of worship. Because she's behind the veil, okay? And if you're knowledgeable about what's going on at the Mass, when she's behind the veil, she's naked. And so we hear her beautiful, almost erotic speech. And if the congregation knows that this is where they're aroused, okay, this is if there's ever a eyes wide shut moment, this is the appropriate moment for it. But the veil is drawn, okay? It's literally, it's still PG rated, okay? The second step, the priest steps up to the second step, represents the Aeon of Osiris, the age of the dying god. It is on the second step that the priest is identified as the god Hadit, second chapter. The inscrutable lover at the very center of the infinite body of Nuit. He said, I am the flame that burns in every heart of man and in the core of every star. And reminiscent of Osiris and Krishna and Christ and every other dying god, he goes on to say, I am life and the giver of life, yet therefore is the knowledge of me, the knowledge of death. Now, as worshippers, we could stay on the second step, worshiping the dying God and adhering to his formula forever. Indeed, many people do just that. But we, the children of the Aeon of Horus, adore the dying God not as an end, but as a means. We linger on the second step only long enough to activate the formula of the dying God within ourselves, only long enough to snatch the vibrating pulse of life and death from the patriarchal Lord, in order to prepare for a wedding that we will celebrate on the third and final step. It's upon the third step that we achieve synthesis. It is upon the third step the mystic marriage will be consummated. It is upon the third step that the true object of worship will appear. Ra-Hur-Kuit, the crowned and conquering child, the child of the goddess and the god of the last 2 aeons. We give thanks and respect to the goddess and the priestess who embodies her. But at the end of the Mass, it is not the goddess whom we worship. It's not the goddess whom we adore. It's not the goddess with whom we commune. We give thanks and respect to the God and priest who embodies him. But at the end of the Mass, it's not the God whom we worship. It's not the God whom we adore. It's not the God with whom we commune. As you will soon see, the Mass of the Gnostic Catholic Church is an enactment of a great and wonderful magical secret. The goal of this secret is the creation of a child. Whether that child is the material or emotional object of your heart's desire, or knowledge and conversation of the Holy Guardian Angel. It's true, without the goddess and the god, the child could not be born. But those who would treat the Gnostic Mass as a ceremony of goddess worship are missing the point entirely. With all the other worshippers of the Aeon of Isis, they cannot rise above the first step of worship. And those who would relegate the Gnostic Mass to a ceremony of phallus worship are also missing the point entirely. Like worshippers of the Aeon of Osiris, they cannot rise above the second step of worship. At the end of the ceremony, each of us should be standing spiritually upon the third step of worship. Our attention focused with full concentration, not upon the priestess, not upon the priest, but upon the child, as embodied in the host and wine. Only those who have achieved, then transcended the arousal of the goddess, only those who have achieved, then transcended the concentrated potency of the god, only those who have annihilated both God and goddess in ecstasy can stand on the third spiritual step and consume, then become the child of their union. Only those who have taken the third spiritual step are worthy to be called worshippers of the Aeon of Horus. I guess I've gone over this morning. Sorry about that. Once I put on my Holy Grail t-shirt, I get all religious. Until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under well.